And so what I realized was what I was eating was causing inflammation. That inflammation was causing anxiety. Anxiety was causing panic attacks. And so this cycle sort of developed that I identified and became very aware of. That turning point, it was I can control what I put in my body. I can't control what happens around me. I can't control what happens at work. I can't control really what happens in the world. But this I can I can focus on and I can dial in.
Good stuff in, good stuff out in your mind. You bring good stuff into your mind, good stuff's gonna come out of your mouth. It's the same way with your body and fitness. Good morning, Everyday Warriors. Welcome back to another fantastic episode of The Everyday Warrior, brought to you by The Warrior Way down here in beautiful South Florida. It's a gorgeous sunny day. Today's episode, you're gonna love. It focuses on men's health and our nutrition, and we bring you a great guest today. His name is Wes Clay. Sounds familiar, right? It's Rich's son. He's the man. Don't hate on him because his hair looks better than yours. This is gonna be a great episode. I hope you guys love it. Warrior Way.
Hey everybody, welcome to Everyday Warrior, and we are thrilled to have you. We have a special show today. I know you're going to love it. I'm Rich Clay, your host, and my co-host, Ben Marten. Ben, we got a special guest today. Why don't you introduce our guest?
Okay, everybody, welcome. Everything, it looks a little different than our normal podcast in the past. You might notice there's been some location changes lately. Our production crew is still situated very calmly and comfortably back in Illinois. These three wonderful individuals you see right now are sitting in the lovely state of Florida, loving every bit of life. So today we get the pleasure to introduce our first Everyday Warrior podcast in the beautiful state of Florida. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce our special guest for today. And those of you watching at home might notice some similarities between the two. Just a couple of years in between, okay? Now, the guy on my bottom left on my screen is my awesome co-host, the coach, the man, the myth, the legend, Rich Clay himself. Our guest today, just a couple of years younger, like I said. You might see him in the future in the remake of Predator, probably playing Arnold Schwarzenegger's role, because he is a physical beast of a man himself. It is my pleasure to introduce to the world Mr. Wes Clay, who happens to be Coach Rich Clay's son.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Coach? We get your son on the podcast today, buddy.
I
Pretty
know.
cool.
I love it. We've been trying to get him on here for the longest time, and now it all worked out. We had to move to Florida to get him on the
That's
podcast.
right, exactly. Just went through a couple
Yeah.
of things just to get it done.
But Ben was said to me several years ago. He said, "What happened to your son?" I said, "What do
No,
you mean?"
geez.
He was like, "He's just transformed his body." And yeah, it was,
Well, the transformation I saw, Wes, I saw this picture. Rich showed me a picture of you. It had to be something. You guys just topped out of the water doing some overachieving decathlon or whatever you guys do, the million things you guys do outside. And he showed me this picture of you guys at the finish line or something like that. And you're sitting there with your shirt off, and it was almost like your abs could poke somebody in the eye. They were so big, man. I haven't seen a six pack that looked like that since I was announcing those bodybuilder competitions back in the day. When I would just sit there and those guys are doing those poses, and I would go up and I would go,
Yeah.
"What is that? What?
Yeah.
Well, how do you do that to yourself, man?"
but it hasn't always been that way. Although Wes has been a great athlete his whole life and a college baseball player, in terms of body transformation and really getting yourself in peak condition has just happened probably in the last 10 years or so. Tell us a little bit about your journey of health and fitness, because
So it wasn't always like that, was?
No, it wasn't. And thank you guys for having me on the pod. Appreciate it. This is exciting. Been obviously watching you guys online. Big fans. Watching from a distance what you guys are doing with Warrior Way. It's very cool. So thank you. Honored to be on it. Hold on. I'm gonna plug my computer in because I think. Yeah. So it's interesting. I moved to Florida in 2018 and uh, started to get into triathlon. I think Dad and I, yeah, in 2019 we did our first ever St. Anthony's triathlon, and that was really a cool experience. But it didn't really click then. And when I say click, I mean like the nutrition, the working out. I've been involved in CrossFit for a number of years and really loved it. But again, like would go do the workouts to the best of my ability, kind of do that, and then go home. And there really wasn't a transformation in my body composition or anything like that. I was just like, yeah, maybe I'm just, kind of a bigger dude. In 2020, 2020, everything changed, right? People were at home. And so you could kind of go one direction or the other. I think a lot of people either gained a lot of weight or lost a lot of weight, kind of figured things out. And so I really started to get into tracking my foods kind of around that time. But in 2022, I sort of had I wouldn't call it a mental health. It wasn't a crisis, but it was definitely a very dark time for me mentally. And the one thing that I felt like I could control through that crisis was what I put in my body. And you've probably heard it before, but you really can't out train a poor diet. And so what I realized was what I was eating was causing inflammation. That inflammation was causing anxiety. Anxiety was causing panic attacks. And so
Mm,
this cycle sort of developed that I identified and became very aware of. And so that sort of began the me really dialing in what was going into my body every day. And I think I had this streak on my fitness pal. It was like I think over 1,000 days, I tracked everything that I ate, and it was just like it became like second nature. It's like opening up Instagram on your phone. It was just like a log your food, log your food, log your food, and really, I just focused on trying to hit my protein. So at the time, I was just looking at my weigh-ins. I weighed 208, and I'm 5'9", so that is
wow.
unhealthy. That's an unhealthy weight. I was big. And at my very leanest, probably in 2023, I weighed about 163 pounds. And I'm kind of in a nice range right now. I'm about 175 to 183-ish. Um, just figuring kind of like where that lands best for performance, for health, and for versatility, right? You can't stay lean all the time. That's unhealthy too. So it was really just if I could kinda get back to that turning point or that catalyst, it was I can control what I put in my body. I can't control what happens around me, I can't control what happens at work, I can't control really what happens in the world, but this I can focus on and I can dial in. So that, began a transformation that led into being more competitive because I could just do more because I had more energy, I had more focus, I had less body fat, so I could just move better and really got into the health and fitness space, CrossFit, doing a lot of CrossFit competitions, doing a lot of triathlons. And so, yeah, so that's a very long answer,
No,
very,
it's a
very long-winded.
That's that's it, man. So were you always? Did you always have like? Were you always? I don't. Like bigger, like not bigger, because that's not like
Yeah,
big. Like I have friends that are big. You know what I mean? And they
yeah,
really need a lot of help. But were you always like? I like because in my body, I was always I had a hard time like. Like you got your dad. He was an athlete growing up, right? My dad, my family, we didn't have a whole lot of. I always tell people I don't have an athletic gene in my body because it wasn't passed down, right? So I always had to
sure,
work out. If I
sure.
miss one day, I automatically lose stuff. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
was it like that with
yeah.
you? Were you always
Yeah, I mean, I was chunky as a kid for sure. I was bigger, and I think it was um I had an older brother who was 5 years older, 5 years older than me, and he was athletic, always doing sports, but we would eat the same, and his caloric need was definitely different than mine. But you just try to keep up with your older brother, so you eat, 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 and eat.
Yeah.
And so I think it was just sort of a learned thing. I played baseball in college, was active, was never huge, I guess, but was never really like, super in shape either. Some people are like, "Oh, it's my hormones," or "Man, I just can't do it." It's just like it's just my body type. And that goes
Mm.
for people who are really skinny as well. Like there's people who are skinny, like, "Man, I just can't add on muscle." But really what it comes down to is are you willing to um monitor every single thing that goes into your body? Because if you do, you'll notice trends and you'll say, "Well, I have a cup of coffee in the morning. That's not even any calories, but you put in 2 tablespoons of creamer, which is over 100 calories and 5 grams of fat." And so these things compound day after day, and we tend to do it mindlessly as we're working because most of us are in front of computers. Most of us are doing mind work, and our brains run off of glycogen. And so we need to fuel our thinking. So we just consume. So yeah, I was a bigger kid and not super tall, right? So like those are I kind of was built like a shoebox. So those are but you don't have to be in that genetic, like, "Oh, I'm stuck in this for the rest of your life." And there's a lot of talk about GLP-1. You have your peptides, your weight loss peptides, and those things are awesome. There's a lot that's coming out about those. I think those things are great, but if you peel it back, there's also you're the same person. You don't make an adjustment if you just inject yourself, with that injection. You don't change those habits. Sort of your stomach, like, it shrinks because you're not getting those hunger cues, but a lot of us emotionally eat as well, right? And so those things don't change. So if you're off those injections and if you're off those peptides, what's going to happen? You're going to go right back to it. So my my goal has been how do I maintain this level of fitness? How do I maintain this level of body transformation? And you gain and you lose and you get lean and then you get not so lean. But really the measuring or having measurements and checkpoints, for example, you know, can I lift a certain amount in the gym? Okay, awesome, that's great. That's not necessarily a measurement of my aerobic capacity. So can I run a 5K in 20 minutes? Okay, check that off the list. Okay, awesome. So if my weight's shifted 5, 6, 7, 8 pounds, but I can still hit those benchmarks, then I know that my performance is still, still there. So I'm kind of all over the place with this, but it is there's so much going on now about these weight loss drugs, and a lot of people are benefiting from them. And I don't think that those are bad things at all. I think those are tools, but tools don't often get you total. You can have body transformation, but your mind can still be stuck thinking that, oh, if I didn't have this, then I wouldn't be this. But if you can do that naturally, man, you're just what it takes to get back to that weight or that back to that how you want to look.
Yeah.
Rich, that's a great point, huh?
Well,
Look at
one of the yeah, and one of the things I wanna ask Wes is, because he mentioned this, oh, man, almost 3 years straight of tracking your foods, and I remember calling you, "What day are you on?" And you'd be like, 1,000." I'm like, That's crazy." I've tried tracking before, and I don't have a lot of luck with that, but as a life and leadership coach, and I've coached both of you guys, you know this, I talk a lot about habits.
Mhm.
And I love the fact that you got yourself in a habit of tracking. And I think too, what amazed me is your habits for going to the gym. And I know you really got bought into CrossFit and you sold me on CrossFit. I remember Wes sold me on CrossFit. He said, "Dad, you need to do this. The best thing about it is you don't have to think, you don't have to plan, you don't have to set your weights out. You show up and they have a program for you." And it really was that. But you've made your workouts a habit too. So maybe unpack that because I got a lot of clients, man, they just really wanna get in shape, but they haven't had the success that you've had. But I always tell them it's a commitment. It's a long term. It's a marathon, not a sprint, and it's a habit. And actually, I do have several clients that have really done successful because of that. Can you talk to the audience just about habits and your habit? You talked about your tracking your food. What about your workout habits? How did you get into such a habit of getting up early in the morning and dragging yourself to the gym or whatever it took?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think, I'm a rewards guy. Like, I'm driven by, for good or for worse, and sometimes for worse, but that feeling after the workout's done, when you feel accomplished, you feel, you're sweaty, you're depleted in some capacity. What that did for my mind was so helpful during the day, and so it just became, I noticed a significant difference from when I worked out in the morning to when I didn't work out. And so there was this automatic sort of reward system that was turned on in my mind that was like, if I don't do this at 10 a.m., 11 a.m., I'm really not going to feel great. And so it became a, do I want to feel awesome? Do I want to sleep in, or do I want to feel amazing at 10 or 11 a.m.? And so, it was just a reward system for me at the base level. And then that got into more, like, well, now I'm training for an event, like a CrossFit competition. And I know if I don't show up, then I'm gonna be embarrassed on the floor 4 or 5 months later. But that's more of an ancillary benefit and result of um what I what it did for me, and what it did for my mind, and what it did for, of course, my body and spirit. But life seems, I would have this thought when I would drive home from the gym, and then the thought was, my problem stresses for the day seem a little bit more comparable than they did before I went in. And I mean, I think everyone's kind of looking for that, right? Like, you're looking to feel that way. You're like, okay, this I can manage. I can manage this. Or at least you have the confidence of that. And some people don't necessarily have that feeling, but everyone basically runs on the same dopamine system, right? Like, we all have that dopamine hit. It's biological after you work out. So there's just using that. Like, all right, I'm gonna I'm gonna reward myself to get up. And so it's like a cup of coffee, right? Like, I really like that. All right, once I get that cup of coffee, and I got to get out the door because I don't want to be late for class. So the habit was then, it wasn't even a habit anymore. It drove itself. I mean, and the same thing with counting my macros and counting my calories, was it led to a lot of freedom. And Jocko Willink says this: discipline is the ultimate freedom, or something similar to that. And I think it's a trope, and it's can be overplayed, but there's a lot of truth to it, in that when you have that discipline to hit a certain calorie or a certain protein mark, which is what mine is. I try to hit about 160 grams of protein every day. When I hit that, the rest is just kind of backfill. Like, I can have maybe a slice of cake, or have a cookie, or have a beer, like whatever your thing is, you can do that. But first, I'm going to take care of what I know is going to take care of me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Reward, coach.
Ben, I know you're wanting to jump on this because Wes just brought up one of the 5 words that we teach at our Warrior Conference. So what's stirring in
It
your head on
it
that?
it always comes back to Wes. It's so cool. Every single interview we do, every discipline that we talk about of being a warrior in this world of what God wants us to be, it always comes back to one of these 5 principles. And you nailed it right on the head. Reward, right? So you hit earlier, like you hit that the PL, what are their PLCs? What are they called again? The intake, the medication
With the
people are
GLP,
taking.
like the GLP.
GLP, yeah, GLP, yeah. Like there's I was yeah, and there's so much of those things out there, right? And there's gonna be a result, right? But is the result really a reward? You know what I mean? You're going, are you going for the results, or are you going for the reward? It's like David knew what his reward was when he showed up,
Yeah,
right? What is the
that's
reward
right.
for the man that takes down this big ugly dude on the other side of this battle, right? What's the reward when I wake up every day and teach myself the discipline? Because it feels good to look good, right, Wes? You know what I mean? Like, it
It does.
feels good. You wake up and you can breathe a little bit better, but also knowing that you are doing it through effort and discipline as opposed to something else is doing it for you. You can you can categorize it. You can actually find
Mm,
those levels are, and then the reward is even better because you hit that level. Like you said, you hit that 160 grams of protein every day. Your reward is now you know your body has that much intake. You can reward your body even further,
yeah,
right? It's that
yeah.
like Rich, you always talked about it. Like, you always told me about what good stuff in, good stuff out in your mind, right? You
That's
reward
good.
yourself. You bring good stuff into your mind, good stuff's gonna come out of your mouth. Bring good thoughts in
Mhm.
your mind, good things are gonna come out of your mouth. It's the same way with your body and fitness. And it's so much more rewarding when you can reward yourself with food. You know what I mean? Like, it's the
Yeah.
coolest thing, like you said. Like,
Yeah.
that's amazing, right, Rich?
Yeah.
It's I would be remiss if I didn't harp on not harp, but highlight the catalyst to it, which is, like, you get to a point where, something has to change and or you get to a place of it's very uncomfortable to lose weight. It just is. And it it hurt like, it hurts because you have hunger pains and your body's like, "Hey, we're used to operating it like this, and we're used to getting dessert after we eat, and we're used to this," and so on and so forth. So, that catalyst, the thing that drives you to do it initially is if it is truly your why, if it is truly a catalyst, it'll push you beyond those moments of discomfort. And that discomfort is temporary and there is an end to it. And weight loss is tough because we live in a very instant gratification society. And there's a lot of good that that produces, but then it's like, man, I need a result now. When you go to Instagram, open your phone, you get instant dopamine now. You have some alcohol, you get tipsy. That happens instantaneously. So this is the reward is awesome, but the few months that it took to get that initial sort of leaning out would sucked. And, it's okay that it sucked. And some people yo-yo and every time it sucks. So, like, yeah, I would just
Mm.
be remiss to say that in the context of the warrior way, I mean, you battle in your mind. Am I gonna go for this? Am I gonna go for the late night snacks? Is my catalyst strong enough? Is my why strong enough to say, like, I'm not really interested in that. I'm interested in this alternate universe, this alternate reality that I could
Mm.
inhabit. And there's other things like that exist. It's money, it's status, it's career, but there is an alternate universe that you could exist in. But
Mm.
it's a bummer of a ride to get there, and
Mm.
that's what keeps people from doing it. Um,
That's really interesting. I'd like to unpack that a little bit because, first of all, I agree with that, but I'm gonna ask this question because so often, like when I'm dealing with clients and we're talking about health and fitness, it's a mental battle because so often in the category of food, food is an area that has become the place where they found comfort. In a time and period in their life where there's a lot of uncomfortable things, a lot of things happening, a lot of channels, especially a lot of the young men like you guys that I coach, man, they're trying to get a career going, they're trying to make money, they're trying to raise a family, and so there's this natural desire, especially for the food that we have in America, that just tastes good, but it's terrible for you. Right? That alternate universe is something that I think I started to experience with the people that I surrounded myself with. Now you move into a culture and a group of people that are exercising regularly, they're watching their diet, nutrition, they're health conscious, and it felt like an alternate universe to me because my universe was made of people that really weren't that healthy, weren't exercising, and loved to eat American food.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so
Well, I yeah, and that kinda sorry to interrupt, but it just
no,
thought
go
occurred
for
to
it.
me is that comfort food, unfortunately, sort of tells us a lie. Man, so imagine Thanksgiving evening. You're laying there, you've had, like, 3 pieces of pie, you're, like, so uncomfortable and swollen because your inflammatory system is just you're going it hurts. So, the American diet kinda does that every day. And so when you think about discomfort to get to that alternative universe, if you overeat, that's super uncomfortable. If you eat in a calorie deficit, that's also uncomfortable. Either way, like you're going to be uncomfortable. So choose the one. The result is where you want to head because the reward system's on the other side. And I noticed this particularly living in Florida. And when I eat inflammatory foods, I don't sleep great because 'cause I'm hot, and, like, in Florida, if you're hot, that's a tough thing to get over, so that discomfort, it's coming your way. You just choose which one, You choose which discomfort you wanna be in. Running, and increasing your aerobic capacity or increasing your ability on the bike or swimming is super uncomfortable, but also, when you're sick or if you're battling a disease, that's also incredibly uncomfortable. So it's there's the choose your hard sort of idea, but it's a momentary gratification and escape to eat something or to drink something. I think what I realized in my journey and my catalyst was I don't feel better. I don't feel comforted with these things anymore. Like that doesn't bring me comfort. What brings me comfort is exercising. And what brings me comfort is controlling what I eat because that really is what brings that feel good feeling. So the people who are in that universe that you're trying to get to, they've identified that and they've leaned towards that. And I think some people can go a little crazy, can be a little cultish. Things online can seem a little overwhelming. You're like, oh my gosh, how do I where do I start? Do I do a high rocks? Do I do whatever? But I would encourage a lot of folks just to darken the door of a CrossFit gym. It really changed my life and um, gave me the body that I have today, and I'm immensely grateful for it. And you're right, there's a universe of people who think about discomfort in that way. I'd rather do a really uncomfortable workout at 5 a.m. than feel groggy and tired at 2 p.m.
Yeah. Did you ever find that your mind started to rewire? You know how it is when you think about food, like, we used to every Sunday night, we go get pizza, right?
Yeah.
Just inflame our bodies. But did in your transition, in your transformation time, did you ever start to think, "Man, I really enjoy eating healthy?"
Yeah, I think it was driven by performance, and
Mm,
I think that eludes some people because they're not super concerned with their performance in the gym or at a triathlon, and I would encourage those people to find something to train for. Be event focused with your life, and it works for vacations, it works for your savings accounts, it works for
Or living in Florida,
church.
spending a lot of time in a bathing suit, right?
That's it. There you go, right there.
That's right.
100%. It's motivation enough.
It
Um,
is.
I think yeah, you do start to enjoy it because you just feel better. You looks come and go. Right? Like we know this, we all age. When I said this earlier, some days you feel lean, some days you have 3 or 4 pounds of maybe water weight that you're carrying because you had something that was a little bit extra salty the day before. So you can get lost in that, and that's where body dysmorphia comes in, and I'm not that's its own thing to unpack, and that's unhelpful as well. But when you eat a certain way, you start to feel a certain way, and you're like, why would I feel the other way? Like, why would I want to feel gross? Like, no, I don't want to have that. It tastes good in the moment, but then you get to a certain point, it doesn't even taste good anymore, just because you have
Mm.
associated it with pain. It's a little Pavlov's dog-ish. Like, you associate having a slice of pizza and a beer with laying in your bed at 2:30 a.m. and having, you know, ripping nasty farts or
Yep.
whatever, and having terrible gas. So, I don't know if I can say that on
Oh,
this,
yeah.
but so it's an association. Your brain associates. Your brain looks for meaning everywhere. And so if you find meaning behind eating healthy and associate that with good things and how and things that is does gratify your flesh, like it does, then I think that's where you are able to stack days. And that's essentially the key, is stacking one day on top of the other. Because one day of going crazy can disrupt an entire week of eating super healthy. And people get in those loops and they're like, Monday through Friday, I'm eating great. And then Saturday comes and it just completely obliterates it. So those associations are really, really important for long-term success.
Yeah, one of the things that we stress on this podcast is the 5 characteristics of the warrior. You guys heard me speak on this yesterday, but it really does take courage to turn your life around and say, "Hey, I'm going in a wrong direction. I'm going to turn it around." And I think it gives you power. Like you said, you can't control everything in your life, but this is something you could control. And that control gives you that sense of power. The third principle is leadership. You have to be a self-leader to do this. Nobody's at our, where we're at in life, nobody's going to just kick us out of bed. We got to
Mm-mm.
make sure that we do that. Nobody's going to tell us what to eat or not to eat. So there's that leadership principle. There's perseverance, the perseverance to stick with it. And man, really proud of you, Wes, with how you stuck to this. And like you said, you have an ebb and flow, but man, as your dad, I've watched you and you've stuck with it. You've been committed to it. And, the reward is, in my eyes, the reward is the fact that you're gonna be around and be a healthy daddy for that beautiful little baby girl.
Man.
I couldn't do the show without mentioning her little
Of course.
grandbaby, Ella Grace, who we dedicated to the Lord yesterday,
Yeah.
and you're gonna be there
Beautiful.
for and a part of her life, and
Mhm.
that's why I'm trying to stay and working out as a pawpaw, because I don't wanna watch from the sidelines,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know?
Well,
that's right.
yeah, and what do you always say? We wanna be the examples. We want as fathers, we wanna be the examples of what we want our little girls to find in a man. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Right.
Like, and there's
Right.
no better way to do that than showing them the discipline of taking care of your body and your mind first, and because they're connected. If there's anything more I've learned in this thing talking to you, Wes, it's there's such a connection between your mind and your body,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
it's so healthy to keep them both in the same line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. It is.
let's wrap this up. So we always
Yeah.
want to give our guests a final word. Wes, what's the word to these warriors that are watching? What would you say to them?
Yeah. I'm a huge supporter of a coach. I've coached CrossFit since 2020, 2019. Consistently. I just came from coaching this evening. If you haven't darkened the door of a CrossFit gym, give it a shot, because I know it can be intimidating. And you see things online, and most of the things you see online are not what a gym is. A CrossFit gym is a lot of like-minded people who are trying to get from point A to point B and improve their life. Give it a shot. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but it has made me a stronger individual, more confidence. It's given me community. I've met some amazing friends and business connections, people who I do life with weekly, daily, people who are believers, people who aren't. And so I would encourage you to turn off your brain trying to figure out how to do this and just show up. Just turn off your brain, show up, and just see what happens. Give it 6 months and give it its fair shot. And if that doesn't work, you can send me a hateful message on Instagram or something, whatever you want to do. But give it a shot, because if it doesn't happen, and remember, it didn't happen for me. I started doing CrossFit consistently in 2018, and I didn't really have much of a transformation until 4 years later. So some things take time. Some things takes time to click. Give yourself grace as well to let that catalyst be evident in your life. Yeah, that's it.
Great
That's
message.
great, man. So appreciate Ben's going to wrap us up here in a second, but
Yeah,
so
yeah,
appreciate you taking the time. Man, I know your schedule's
course.
crazy with the new baby and what you do. So we appreciate you being on the show so very much. I believe it's going to be a great encouragement to so many of the to the guys that watch this, that man, if Wes Clay can do it, I can do it, and I'm going to go
Mm-hmm.
for it.
100%.
And I love the
100%.
principle of reward.
Yep.
Man,
Yeah.
you rung the bell on that. So
Yeah, he did.
Ben, close us out, and
Oh.
we're good.
Well, here we go. Well, first of all, make sure don't send Wes any hateful messages on Instagram. You send him a big old hug, because I don't know about you guys. Anybody else with a 4-month-old baby out there ask mama to take an hour out of his day to go hop on with dad and his buddy. He deserves all the grace in the world. Give him a big hug. It's just a great day. Thank you so much, guys. Everybody out there in Warrior Way World and Everyday Warrior World, thank you so much for coming. Join us. It's been a great journey. You're going to be so glad you do. Follow us on everything you can. Like us, surround us, hug us, join us, send us messages. Please, send us messages down there in the bottom. We'd love to reply to you, let you know what's going on. Let you know where you can see us next. If you're ever down in Southwest Florida, give us a call and we'll have some fun. Does that sound good, Wes? Don't forget.
Love it, man. Glad you're down here.
Predator 2026, Wes Clay. He's going to
Be awesome.
dominate.
We'll
It's
be
gonna
great.
Yep.
Awesome. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah,
Okay.
thanks,
God
guys. We
bless.
appreciate it. Everyday warrior, right there, an everyday warrior making a difference. God bless. Have a great night, guys.